Hi, hello. I'm like a month delayed from everyone else that posted about this, but don't mind that. I was completely exhausted for the entirety of November. Lots of life stuff has happened this year, both good and bad, and I needed a month to crash now that it's all done. I'm also in a rush to make this video before I leave town to see Fnaf 2, so forgive me for the minimal editing. But yes, I got to attend the Fnaf 2 party in LA. In case you haven't heard about this yet, this was an event that Universal put together where we got to watch the final trailer for Fnaf 2 early and go to a party afterward with food and photo ops. Some other people that attended were Deregular Sauce, Dawko, Unique Geese, and John Fnaf. It was a very good time, and I'll talk about what the whole trip was like. First off, the inciting incident. I got the invitation email during my wedding rehearsal dinner. Not just for me, but for a +1. So this was a trip that I'd be able to make with my partner, which we hadn't ever gotten to do before. All FNAF-related trips I've gone on before have been on my lonesome, so this was super exciting. The turnaround time between the wedding and the event was incredibly tight, being 2 days apart. For that night, we made it a next day problem. Next day, we're married! The wedding went great, and now was a matter of figuring out what to do about this party. To keep things brief, a lot of help from both of our families and some friends made it where this was a feasible trip to afford, and we got it sorted to fly out the very next morning. Which meant leaving at 2 a.m. for us, no biggie. Once we flew out to LA, we settled at Universal Studios and were even able to buy tickets to Halloween Horror Nights. I had resigned myself to not being able to experience the FNAF Haunted House because it just wasn't in my budget this year, but the universe demanded otherwise. So before we get to the party... This thing was so cool. Even just waiting in line, I was so excited to experience this thing. FNAF being something so larger than life is still a very fresh phenomenon for me. The PAX events were definitely a spectacle, but something about Five Nights at Freddy's being a high-profile attraction at Universal Studios, hearing the movie theme blaring on the park speakers, something about that made me so overwhelmingly happy. Growing up on this series and seeing how big it's become feels so... cool? Vindicating? Whatever the best word is, it's a novel feeling that makes me glad I've been around from nearly the beginning. The attraction itself was absolutely spectacular, too. Walking into the pizzeria and seeing the drawings on the wall, seeing Freddy performing on stage, I was so giddy. Then you weave through the maze and it was both exciting and genuinely scared me multiple times. My wife got jump scared seeing 2 random people just standing in the corner doing nothing. The atmosphere was great. Having animatronics and hands and ghost people in every corner made it so fun to progress, because even if you were stopped in the line, you'd be hearing and seeing things popping out behind you the whole time. The absolute standout, though, was when I finally reached my boy. I know I gave this Springtrap puppet a bit of a hard time in my Springtrap tier list, but seeing it in person was absolutely stellar. My excitement proclaiming, "Oh my god, it's Springtrap, there he is!" got quickly cut short by him lunging at me with his knife directly at my face. So I both got to geek out at seeing my favorite character in person, and got appropriately jump scared by him. I could see the person controlling him that whole time too, but a knife in the face makes the man behind the curtain disappear in an instant. Afterwards, we got some food, and I got the thing I truly wanted more than anything else from Halloween Horror Nights. The cupcake! The cupcake was the most excited I've ever been for a dessert, and it did not disappoint. Mostly. It was delicious in every way except for the filling in the middle. That filling was disgusting. But the rest was great. I want to learn the recipe so I can make it at home, because I loved that cupcake. But enough about that. You're here for the FNAF 2 party. This was a very surreal thing to actually attend. The first thing we did was check into the Universal backlot and then went over to a theater to watch the FNAF 2 trailer early. It took a minute for them to get everyone in, so I got the chance to people watch a little. Some were dressed up, some were just now learning about what FNAF Steel even was, and some were MatPat. I watched MatPat walk in there and talk to people, and that's when it finally hit me that I didn't just make up this whole guy in my head. He's a real dude. That's crazy. I'll talk more about MatPat later. Once the trailer actually started, I was locked in. I was kind of just expecting to like it and that'd be it, but the trailer really pulled out all the stops to generate a ton of excitement out of me, which I wasn't expecting. There was more Vanessa, more William, and our first glimpse of Henry, and that's all I needed. The trailer ending on a withered Foxy jump scare was also a really nice callback to the original FNAF 2 game trailer. Loved that. Afterward, we had buses lined up to take us to a different building for the party itself. There wasn't enough room for all of us to go at the same time, so I ended up in the second batch to go. I didn't know this on the night of, but I found out later that Matthew Lillard had introduced the event and had to leave right after, and I missed him! I don't think I missed much more than that, though, and the rest of the party was still in full swing. They had a bunch of food: pizza, mozzarella sticks, cupcakes that looked like Red Guy from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, and a whole bar. My wife and I tried some kind of alcohol. It was some citrusy one. And we quickly discovered alcohol still tastes bad. Anytime I try it, I think, I'll finally get the appeal this time, and I never do. So we just got soda instead. Around us in the building were a bunch of spots for photo ops. There was a security office, a pizzeria booth with the movie sign and posters, a spot to get a custom collectible card of yourself, a little video spot to act scared within the confines of a giant tube, and a spot to just feel prestigious with the movie logo. There was also a spot labeled Giphy, but I never got around to doing that one. No idea what that one had in store. After a little bit of eating and sightseeing, I went to get some Freddy-shaped cotton candy when suddenly Map Pat got on the mic and introduced Toy Bonnie. The cotton candy machine was at the very back of the area, and Toy Bonnie was at the very front. This wouldn't be a huge problem in most cases, but the crowd amassing to witness the Blue Bunny was so packed that all I could see of Toy Bonnie with my phone lifted up was the tips of his ears. Then they announced a sister location with more stuff to do, and the rabbit disappeared without a trace. I did, however, get to talk to Matt Pat himself right after this. I told him the gist of what I do on YouTube and said that his original FNAF 2 theory is what got me into FNAF and where I am now. To which he both said, "You're welcome," and "I'm sorry," and he didn't quite know which was most applicable. Both sound about right. Then it was time to peruse the sister location. We got some free merch, including a t-shirt, tote bag, and little mini plushies. I picked Bonnie and my wife picked Chica. Then we went to a room featuring a bunch of set props from the movie, including a Kids Cove pirate ship, a carousel, and a prize counter. That prize counter had a bunch of the crazy popcorn buckets for this movie, but they hadn't been announced yet, so I had no clue what they were supposed to be. Now I know. Then was the other room, featuring an actual prop version of the movie sign, as well as Toy Freddy peeking out of a curtain. Here was where I met Matt Pat a second time, asking him for a picture where he deeply pondered Cheese Trap. He was very amused by the existence of Cheese Trap. After that, someone in line for Toy Freddy saw the same figure in my hands and asked me for lore clarification about Springtrap because they were brand new to the series, and I happily obliged. Then I met Toy Freddy. He's not a talker. After that, we had hit up all the spots of this party, and I was definitely starting to feel fatigued. The party was fun, but it was very overstimulating, and I started feeling some heavy imposter syndrome with how many important people were there. I felt very honored to have been invited, but I don't really feel like I fit in that much around all these different people. But then we regrouped with some friends, and they were talking to Piper Rubio, the actor who plays Abby in the FNAF movies. They introduced us, and I was like, "Oh, hi, I'm the Youth Troop." And I was expecting to do the usual explaining who I am spiel, when her jaw dropped to the floor. I've only ever met a couple people who recognized me, and I was really not expecting for an actual movie star to be one of them. Piper was really sweet. She had been messing around with her own little Chica plushie when its tag fell off, and she was bummed about it. And then my wife offered to trade because the Chica she got earlier still had a tag. Piper was so happy about that, and it was just such a fun little interaction to have. I was very happy to have helped make this kid's day, because she definitely helped make mine. After that point, we got to socialize with my friends after all of us had been mostly scattered about the whole time, and it was just a good way to end off the event. Once everything was over, I spent the rest of the night just chilling out before it was time to book it out of LA and back to Missouri at 3 a.m. Once we got back home, I got to explain this whole story like 3 or 4 times and had no more energy to even perceive FNAF again until about now. I'm kind of in a rush now because I'm about to travel again to see the movie with friends, but I wanted to get this out before it premieres. I'm very excited for FNAF 2, and I hope y'all are as well. I'm not sure if I'll put out any more videos before the new year, so I hope all of you have a happy holiday season, and I'll have more stuff to put out next year. I've got Timeline Part 4 chugging along, an original short called Magical Mundanity in the works, and I want to possibly make a little follow-up to the Springtrap tier list featuring Blighted Springtrap, Movie Spring Bonnie, alongside some versions I skipped in the first video. We will see how everything shakes out, but goodbye for now.